save the world now. First.
It is April 11th, 2020, and welcome to the first episode of Christian Power Saves the World. Now, I was planning on starting out on a little bit of a lighter tone, having a little fun with my first episode, but seeing as we are 5 weeks into a pandemic lockdown, it appears that time is short and getting shorter, so I have to come out swinging. As we all sit here huddled in our homes, staring at the walls and rewatching all of Netflix, it really feels like the end of the world. So much so that my kid actually asked me if it was the end of the world. It's crazy that any of us have to field that kind of question from our kids, but even more so that our kids have justification for asking such a question. So of course, I told him, yes, the world is ending. Now go steal a bunch of toilet paper. No, I told him to go get some food because we need food to make poo. Anyways, now clearly I told him the world's not going to end, but the world will never be the same, and nor should it be. And if we do not change things, it will not be the same in some really bad ways. And this is going to happen over and over again. Pandemics aren't getting fewer and fewer. They're getting more rapid. So it's going to be worse if we don't get some changes. If we don't be really on purpose about what those changes are. We need to make them, and we need to make them fast. So if we're all going to come out of this better than we did the Great Depression and the Spanish flu, there are some fundamental things that we need to get straight. Much of it has to do with word use, and I'm going to start with the word billion. Now, we need to agree on what that word refers to. Now, some may have a solid grasp of what that number represents, but few of us actually come into contact with a billion of anything on a daily basis. And this leads many to not have a solid comprehension of what that number represents. And I know this because when I ask some people what a billion is, I really get weak answers like it's a number, or it comes after a million, or it's a lot of something. And that lack of ability to articulate shows the lack of comprehension of what a billion really is, what that number represents. It literally is one of the things that lies at the foundation of our current problem. So let's fix it. It's an easy one, and it'll provide some insight into some more difficult issues that I plan on addressing in future podcasts. Now, I have found that if I frame these large numbers in a familiar context like time, it's a little easier for people to understand because, we deal with time all the time. So if I convert things to seconds and minutes and days and years, whichever is appropriate, they grasp what I'm talking about much easier. So let's do that with $1 million. So if I convert 1 million into seconds and then minutes, I get 16,000 minutes, or 12 days. If I take $1 billion and I convert that into seconds and then minutes, I get 16 million minutes, or 32 years. Now I'm rounding to make it easier to say, but you get the idea. And now the comparison is clear. We can clearly see the massive difference between 12 days and 32 years. It's like a vacation versus a short lifetime. It's a big difference. So, what if we take the average household income of America, which is about $60,000 a year, and that's about $5,000 a month, and we convert that the same way? Well, we get an astounding, wait for it, 83 minutes. Think about that. Oh. 83 minutes versus 32 years? It's a big, big deal. Now, 95% of Americans only have that average, 83 minutes of wealth versus 5% that are millionaires that have days of wealth are like 1/100% that are billionaires that have years of wealth. And man, that just every time I talk about it, it kills me. 12 days and 32 years. That 12 days is 1 million and that 32 years is 1 billion. Most millionaires and billionaires have far more than that. The difference is astronomical, as we can clearly see now. So now that we can clearly grasp that difference, why does that matter? How's that foundational? How's that the foundation of our current problems? Well, let's look at a real billionaire. Now, Forbes has a list of 2,153 billionaires. And not all billionaires are on that list, like Putin and some others on there, probably because how they got their billions. So we'll pick off the list. So who should we choose first? Let's think. How about Mike Bloomberg? Now, you may remember him from the thousands of really annoying ads that he ran on every media format during the first part of the presidential campaigns. because he gave money to the leaders of the DNC and bought his way into the race. Straight up. He was able to do that because he has $60 billion. And the DNC and RNC are for sale, but I digress. Let's just focus on that $60 billion. $60 billion is the equivalent, if we convert it the same way, to 1,800 years. 1,800 years versus our 83 minutes. So to be clear, the average household has 83 minutes of wealth, and Bloomberg has 1,800 years of wealth. Oh man, it's so crazy. Now, remember, millions upon millions don't even have 83 minutes of wealth. Many people were watching this video going, wait a minute, I don't have 83 minutes of wealth. I don't make $5,000 a month. Basically, most people don't have enough for a lunch break worth of wealth. And he's got as much time as Jesus until now. So, what does one buy with $60 billion? A whole lot of toilet paper? No, he told us what he buys on the presidential debate stage that he bought his way into. Watch this video.
Let's just go on the record. They talked about 40 Democrats. 21 of those were people that I spent $100 million to help elect. All of the new Democrats that came in and put Nancy Pelosi in charge and gave the Congress the ability to control this president, I got them. I bought them. I bought them. I bought them. I got them.
So he just said he got 20 Democratic representatives and put Nancy Pelosi in control of the party. He got them.
I got them.
He said it, and of course he did. He not only got them, but just after he entered the presidential race in November 2019, he also got some Republicans that November. And he's been doing it for decades, him and others. So he got both the Dem side and the Republican side at the same time. We only buy things if it benefits us. So how does buying both sides benefit Mike Bloomberg? And make no mistake, he knows exactly what he's bought-gotten and why he is bought-gotten it. He knows what he's doing. At the very least, it gives him and others like him great influence over any legislation that Nancy Pelosi and these 20 bot-got reps author or enact. Worst case, it grants him and others complete control to ensure that our interests never interfere with theirs. And they have this power on both sides of our dual-party system. And clearly, the results over the last few decades show this to be true. Hasn't been much change. Now, I'm not anti-American, nor anti-billionaire, nor anti-millionaire. I am anti-people not having access to healthcare, not having access to stable housing, not having access to secure food sources. I'm anti-people losing everything they have in the face of tragedy, like now. People are losing their homes and their jobs and their access to their healthcare and their lives. Now, it's said that millionaires and billionaires earn their billions, and sure, I'm sure some have, but like the word billion, people confuse what the word earn means. They confuse it because of their experience. Now, it means to obtain or gain through work or service, normally, some exchange, but because most people earn money per hour through working 40 to 80-hour work weeks, usually in exhausting and physically demanding jobs, like retail and restaurant and logistics and warehousing and truck driving, and the list goes on, they are literally selling their lifetimes to provide shelter and food for themselves and their families. And because the majority of these people labor, not just work, but labor extremely hard for what they earn, they naturally think that Bloomberg and others must have labored amazingly harder to have 60 billion. That's false. If all it took was hard work, everyone would have millions and billions. I can prove it. The average American earns $5,000 a month. They would have to literally work, just like they are now, for 1 million years to earn $60 billion. So Bloomberg literally has 1 million times their wealth, and he did not labor 1 million years to get it. So stop with the whole he earned it bullshit. He had opportunities that most do not. They were given to him by a corrupt system, and he now buys your political representation, and he and them write and enact legislation that allows them to continue to shift and drive wealth to themselves. We don't need government to help them shift wealth to the top. We need our government to work in everyone's interest equally, and it clearly is not right now. And let me be clear. These representatives are the same ones that have allowed themselves to be bought-got and then legislated themselves and their owners the ability to kill millions with things like opioids for profit. And they obviously do not care if hundreds of thousands have died in a pandemic. They're acting like they do, but clearly they don't. They delayed telling everyone about the pandemic for months so they could shift their assets to maintain their power and wealth while you and your loved ones are at the very least at risk of getting sick. And they may die, and millions are losing their homes and their jobs and access to healthcare. I promise you, there is no moral argument to be made that any of them labored so much harder than 95% of Americans that justifies them earning literally 1 million times what you earn. Oh, and our politicians also get free healthcare and immediate access to the best medical treatment, full retirement no matter how long their term is. So they never lose their healthcare or economic futures. You do and you can, but they don't. They voted that. They took care of themselves for sure. I wonder how often any of them are stopped and frisked. Huh, Bloomberg? How many times have you been stopped and frisked? You fought for that pretty goddamn hard. And again, I'm not opposed to capitalism, but this is not capitalism. It is corporate capitalism, or in other words, modern feudalism. Go look up feudalism. That's what this is. This is not capitalism. It should be illegal for people to buy our political representations. And make no mistake, he just told you that that's what he did. Let's listen to it again. Let's listen.
I got them.
Oh, bought-got. That's what he's doing. And all of them are, most likely. So, as we move forward through the biggest health and economic crisis since the Spanish flu and the Great Depression, and it's also happening during a presidential debate season or race, election period, the first question that we should be asking ourselves, the first one out of our mouths, everyone, left, right, up, down, front, center, black, white, it doesn't matter. Who is paying the people that are supposedly representing us? Because they work for who pays them. Just like you going to work, you are paid to act in the interest and benefit of the people that pay you. It's not the 95% of Americans. You give them $20, Bloomberg gives them 100 million. Who do you think they're serving? So we have billionaires bought-got in our political representation. Are we all sure we're okay with that? Really? Bloomberg is Biden's biggest backer. Biden is in fact bought-got, like the rest of the DNC. Their policies show it. Are we really going to allow it to continue in the face of our current situation? Are we going to fall for it again? Have we forgotten the great wealth transfer in 2008, the crash, when these billionaires stole the homes and retirements of millions upon millions of people? Our head of treasury bankrupted on or foreclosed on little old ladies. No one was helped. No one was held accountable. They were rewarded and promoted in this system. And they're doing it again right now. While the billionaires got our political reps and pay millionaires to work in the media that they own to tell us all that all we need to do is get back to normal. They're leveraging our fear of what's going on and tempting us with the idea of normalcy and praising and encouraging our sacrifice and death and losing our houses, all for this great American system. This narrative is being pushed to instill it in your belief systems, to get us all to behave in their interests, to get us to be complacent and compliant, complicit in our own continued economic exploitation. They're convincing us how great Americans, how great we are for all pulling together and saving this great system. If it's such a great system, we shouldn't need to sacrifice. Definitely not our homes and our retirements and our health and our lives for a system that drives such a wealth gap. Good system. You know, this great system that has failed to properly deal with a pandemic and failed our aging and failed our young and failed our homeless vets and failed to ensure we have access to health care, failed to ensure safe drinking water. We're all filled with PFAS. Go look up PFAS if you don't know what that is. Just found that out. Good one. Can't even get rid of it. It's failed to protect our retirements. The list goes on. And these are not made up. These are objective truths. I'm not spinning anything. Anyone can go look this stuff up. And let me be clear even more. This system was failing in all these areas before our current affairs, before our situation right now. Let me remind you what normal is. Tens of millions of people with no jobs. No access to health care for millions and millions and millions. People losing their homes. People having their pensions stolen. Endless oil wars for their profit. Mass murder and suffering for their profit. I'm not making that up. That's not spin. It's objective facts and numbers, people. You know who the system has not failed? The millionaires and billionaires that got it. They don't even share the same risk in this pandemic. Definitely not the same risk in economic future ruin. Sure, they may get sick, but it's less likely as many of them have self-isolated in their yachts and their summer homes. They can buy the best food and the best healthcare and have it sent to them. They aren't risking losing their homes and economic futures. Remember, they got our political representatives, the ones that never lose their healthcare nor their retirements. So as we sit huddled in our homes, counting our toilet paper, well, I got one left, and we don't have a clue about what's going to happen in 3 weeks, we need to demand a new normal. Demand a new normal where there is a basic level of wealth that no American can fall below, ever. Or are we to sacrifice our safety and our health and our children while millionaires and billionaires literally buy our political representation from the safeties of their estates to ensure the continued economic exploitation of 95% of Americans for their profit? That's what they're worried about losing right now, is control and their position. For them to use their media outlets that they own to push a framing of narratives designed to convince us how great this system is that requires our sacrifice, but not theirs. They're not sacrificing shit. And they're not. And that should piss everybody off. Your 83 minutes of wealth versus 1,800 years of wealth. And he's not even the richest. We have many issues to address, but none more important at the moment than how not understanding what a billion is and how it is used to profit the few. This is not a left or right thing. They just want you to think it is. They own both sides, and they fabricate and flame the conflicts between the people in the 95% to keep us from focusing on them doing what they're doing. You may want to focus on getting food, by the way, instead of toilet paper, because you need food to make poo before you need the toilet paper. And even that's looking a little shaky right now.
Save the world now. Get the fuck out of here.